Well, the race for the leadership of the 10th National Assembly, especially that of the Senate, is beginning to look like a two-horse race between Senator Godswill Akpabio, a former governor of Ekpeyong State, and Senator-elect Abdulaziz Yari, a former governor of Zamfara State, two former governors. Now, no fewer than 25 state governors have been said to have chosen Senator Godswill Akpabio as the Senate President of the 10th Assembly. In the meantime, Akpabio's opponent, Senator-elect Abdulaziz Yari, has declared that if he emerges victorious on Tuesday, June 13, Nigeria will be his priority rather than the political party. But while President Bola Tinubu met with lawmakers-elect before the inauguration of the 10th Assembly, he emphasized the importance of prioritizing the country's interest over party politics in their legislative responsibilities. He called on the lawmakers to work together and carefully select good leaders for the 10th National Assembly. For more on the leadership race of the 10th National Assembly, I'm joined in the studio by Asuquo, Ekpeyong, who is an All Progressives Congress Senator-elect representing Cross Rivers South in the 10th Senate. He was also the former Commissioner for Finance in the state. Asuquo, good to see you and thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Well, these are trying moments for your party. But again, first, before we dig in deep into the politics of the Assembly, let's ask, so far, your president, Nigeria's president, your party leader, has been very active lately. Being a financial expert and also a party man, what's your assessment in the few days that he's assumed office?
Thank you very much. First of all, let me correct the impression. These aren't trying times for our party. I would rather say it's trying times for the nation. The nation faces a lot of challenges. President Bola Tinubu ascended into office on the 29th of May, and there are quite a few challenges that are before this nation. Right from his inaugural speech, he tackled head-on the issues that affect the country. One is the economy, a weak economy. One is insecurity. On the economy, he immediately started off by stating his position on the fuel subsidy, the removal of fuel subsidy, and which was an unsustainable practice that had been going on for decades. He's also stated his intention to unify the various foreign exchange rates, which inhibits foreign direct investment and even just global trade. He spent his first, I would say, 10 days in office, meeting and consulting, engaging with security chiefs, engaging with the heads of the various economic arms of this federation, and I think he's off to a flying start. He's working very, very hard, and I think at the end of 100 days, at the end of 200 days, at the end of 2 years, we're going to start seeing some positive effects of his administration.
You know, while we're with that, let me quickly ask, thus being a financial expert, the single, trying to have a single or a unified exchange rate, which he also spoke about. Nigerians are really and truly excited. But again, as a financial expert, how feasible do you think that is?
It's important to have price discovery in the foreign exchange market. It's important to allow free market exchange, demand meeting supply, ensuring a managed exchange regime. That would instill, first of all, confidence in the market. That would ensure transparency, and it's just a matter of fact that if I know I bring in dollars into the economy, into Nigeria, I know what to expect as the exchange rate, and I can forecast and predict what the exchange rate would be when I try to take it out. It's a no-brainer. It's very essential.
Now let's dig in deep into politics, but again, I'd like to start from your home state. And for the APC, it seemed to be growing in leaps and bounds, getting to see newbies like yourself making your audacious presence in politics. Speak to us on developments in your state, specifically the APC in your state, especially those who were hard done by after the election. How have your party been able to bring them under the same page?
Well, so historically, Cross River State has been what people would term a PDP state. From the onset.
But that's what it has always been, not
Yeah,
what people would tell me. It's
Fair
always
enough.
been a PDP state.
Fair enough, but I don't think any state is a party state. I think maybe the people are. From the onset of this republic, I think the PDP has held sway in Cross River State from 99 until His Excellency, the immediate past governor, Benedict Ayade, left the PDP to the APC. At some point, in fact, as at 2015, the PDP had all the local government chairmen, had the state governor, had the 3 senators, the 8 House of Reps, and the 25 members of the House of Assembly. What the APC has brought is an alternative. This 2023 general elections was keenly contested. It ensured that the primary process threw up the best candidates as possible, and the people made their choice. It was free and fair in Cross River. The people exercised their franchise, and they gave their mandates to the various winners. So today, Cross River State is led by the governor, His Excellency Senator Professor Basi Ederutu, a fantastic gentleman with a tremendous record of achievements at the legislative chambers, both the House of Reps and the Senate. We have 2 senators in the APC, 1 in PDP. Out of the 8 House of Rep seats, we have 5 in the APC, 1 in Labour and 2 in PDP. The House of Assembly as well, the APC have a vast majority. And the people looked not at parties, they looked at the candidates, and they casted their ballots in terms of the capacities of the people on the ballots.
Now let's look at 2015. You were not there then. That perhaps you were just like every other Nigerian, and we saw what happened in 2015 when the 13th Senate President Bukola Saraki and a few of the APC members actually went against what people would say went against the party's hierarchy's choice of the leadership at that point in time. And just a few days from now, we just might be seeing a repeat. But the president has started speaking with all stakeholders like yourself. And perhaps we should start by asking how that meeting went with your colleagues and yourself.
Okay. Well, let me say the scenario is quite different this time around. The party has articulated its position. I like to correct that impression. It wasn't as if the president just came out and said, this is who he thinks would be best suited. No, the party actually did that after rounds of consultation with various stakeholders. I think at the beginning of the aspirations of the various candidates or aspirants, there were a lot more than there are today. And over time and over various rounds of consultations and engagements, stakeholders sat and narrowed in on what they thought would be in the best interest, not for the party, but for Nigeria. The party speaks to it as the Nigerian project. It narrowed down to a choice who they feel is best suited, not just because of his track record, not just because of where he's from or his religion, but because of the capacity that he has proven over time. And they settled on His Excellency Senator Godswill Obodo-Akpabio for Senate President, and they settled as well for Senator Barao I. Jibrin for Deputy Senate President.
You know, it's getting a little bit, difficult to understand for some people because some party members have come on the show to say categorically that the party only advised and didn't specifically and categorically narrow it down to these individuals. I'm sure you must have heard that argument.
You see, in politics, people have, things are open to interpretation. People choose to interpret things how it best suits them. But it's there in black and white, it's there on paper. I'm sure you have a copy of it, maybe you can look online. It was expressly written that the party had. And I would like to, people like to use certain terms. They say advice. What do they mean by advice? They stated, they said this was the zoning, and they went beyond that to pick or to select candidates based on their credibility. I think that matter was long ago settled at the angle of the party, and the president was just re-echoing the position of the party.
And you said this whole idea is for the good of Nigeria, the good of the country. Yeah. You're also from the southern part of Nigeria, specifically the south side, and Godswill Akpabio is also from that region. Though we've seen people from other regions who are also giving their backing in your party to Senator Akpabio. Tell us, if you will, the good. You're trying to tell us that the country is likely to get from an Akpabio Senate presidency.
Okay, first and foremost, I think the word stability comes to mind. The framers of the present-day constitution of Nigeria modeled our legislature against the founding fathers of the United States, the bicameral legislature, where you have the Senate, you have the House of Reps. In the House of Reps, you look at proportional representation, where you have the number of seats dependent on the population of the state. In the Senate, you have what is termed equality, where each state gets the same number. If it's in the USA, it's 2 senators a state. In Nigeria, it's 3 senators a state. Now, that equality versus proportion is very important because you can see a state like Kano with 24 seats in the House of Reps, or Lagos with 24 seats. And then again, Bayelsa with 5 seats, Ekiti with 6 seats. But when it comes to the Senate, the essence or the foundation is equality. And so you have 3 senators per state. It's important to balance this country. The framers of our constitution looked at Nigeria as a federation, an amalgamation of different tribes, different ethnic groups. It is important for each state to feel as if there's a sense of belonging. We are very diverse, various tribes, various languages. It's important that everyone has a sense of belonging in this country. There are 3 arms of government. There's the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. The executive, the president, is a Muslim. The vice president is a Muslim. The legislature, in the House of Reps, all the current aspirants are Muslims. So definitely a Muslim would emerge. For the sake of the unity of this country, for the sense of belonging that is required, it's important, even though religion is not mentioned in our constitution, it is a part of our doctrine, it is part of our tradition. We came to inherit it from our forefathers. It's important that religion plays a role in determining certain offices. But that is not just it. So when you speak about stability, we're talking about equality, letting people have a sense of belonging, keeping Nigeria united as one, where everyone feels like they have a place in this country. Now, move that aside. We speak about credibility and track record. Senator Godswill Akpabio is a barrister with over 30 years experience as a lawyer. I think that's that's very essential for any lawmaker. He's had 6 years experience at the State Executive Council as a commissioner in various ministries where he was tried and tested. He's been a governor for 8 years. Over those 8 years, his performances and track records are there for people to judge. In fact, he earned him the sobriquet, the uncommon governor. He went on from that to become the minority leader of the 8th Assembly in the Senate. He went on from that to become a minister, serving at the Federal Executive Council. And he's back to the Senate. Over the 24 years of this republic, I'm not sure any of the people jostling for that office have the same track record or credibility of performance that he does. So when we look at it, in terms of the ability to keep up with the executive, in terms of the experience, in terms of the achievements, it's clear to anyone to see that Godswill Akpabio is the best choice for the Senate presidency.
You know, when you spoke about the issue of having, equality, and you also brought the issue of religion, and perhaps which will resonate a lot with many Nigerians. The question is, how difficult is that to be internalized by some party members, specifically for Senator-elect Abdulaziz Yari?
What do you mean?
No, your party, because your party has been meeting all the senators-elect,
yes,
selling this whole idea of the need for Nigerians to have a balance.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So people like him, who is also a candidate in the race, did he buy into all this?
Well, I don't think he does, actually, because obviously he's still running, if I'm to speak candidly. But you can't stop him from running.
And the sorry to I'm pushing all of this now.
No,
and the opposition members, some of the opposition members, are they all, you know, is your party reaching out to some of them to also key into this?
Absolutely.
And how is it looking like?
Wonderful. We have the numbers. You see, what I find a lot of propaganda online. I find a lot of sponsored, media articles.
I like to mention one, if you will.
I'll try not to. But
you try not to. It doesn't look good.
No. I'll try not to. But what I find interesting is that they are almost campaigning as if it were a general election. We're dealing with a small pool, almost as if.
I see lampposts and billboards across the city.
And I wonder, in this Senate election, there are 109 votes. It's a small catchment. Every single one of those senator-elects are well informed.
Is it looking good for your candidate and your party's choice?
Absolutely.
And you think on Tuesday, Godswill Akpabio will emerge?
He will be the Senate president.
I like to become personal now. You're quite young. You're less than 40. And if I look correctly, you look to be the youngest senator-elect.
That's right.
You know, as a journalist, I don't like the picture sometimes I see of people sleeping. I'm getting older, so it's not about age. I like to see people who are excited about Nigeria, people who really are there for the debate. So getting to see you go in there, what do we expect from you, Asuquo Ekpeyong, specifically younger Nigerians who are looking up to getting into politics?
So for every senator, the first thing he thinks about is his constituency. I feel as though, and I said this when I was elected, my constituency is not just my primary geographical location, that's Cross River South, but I think it's also the demographic, that's the age. So I intend to be a senator to address most of the issues that ping at the heart of every young man or woman in Nigeria. I expect to drive policies. I expect to be innovative in my approach. I expect to pass bills that are more people-oriented. I expect to continue to listen. I don't think I know everything. I don't pretend that I do. I expect that I will continue to listen and formulate bills that will touch their everyday lives, especially the young people, because they make up an important segment of our population, and sometimes their voices aren't really heard. So my communication is not going to be one way, it's going to be two-way. I'm going to listen, I'm going to act, I'm going to reach back for feedback. That's how I intend to represent not just my people, my tribe, but my demographic as well.
And the alliances we're getting to see, quite frankly, lately we've seen the president reaching out to people from other political parties,
Absolutely.
Party leaders. We saw him.
He's the president of Nigeria, not
yes.
APC.
So speak to us on that strategy, which many are surprised to see that once upon a time, party man, now president, is making such a kind of reach out, which perhaps could be something worth studying.
I think most of the time people, and I forgive people that don't know his history or his antecedents. As governor of Lagos, he always reached out to the opposition party. He's always worked with the various parties. You need to understand where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is coming from. He was a governor of Lagos in '99 on the onset of this republic. They had a couple of states in the southwest, but by 2003, that was Lagos was the last man standing in more or less the opposition, and he built a party from that, from the AD to the AC to the ACN to the amalgamation where they had the APC, and wrested power from an incumbent president. That takes a lot of reaching across the aisle. That takes a lot of engagement with other parties. And he's done it fantastically. From that one state, they've gone on to spread. The APC has gone on to actually take the villa. And he emerged as the presidential candidate of the party in spite of everything that may have been thrown in his way to prevent him. He also emerged as the president of this country in spite of all the things that were thrown in his way. I think at some point, even the harshest critic has to sit back and realize, that he is the living testament of God's will, in any man's life. And I say that very emphatically, that he understands politics and he understands that it's a numbers game. It's about reaching out to people. It's about consulting and engagement and taking decisions that affect the better good or the better number of people positively.
A good place for us to say thank you for being such nice company, Senator-elect Asuquo Ekpeyong. Many thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you very much.